Hello and welcome. I'm Elaine Canyon, sweetly writing happily ever after, one book at a time. Today I wanted to talk about cover design again, and I wanted to specifically talk about cover design as far as being able to identify what kind of cover you have. That's something that I haven't done on this channel before, and it's actually really important. And it's one of those things that when you are a designer, you already know these things and you forget that you need to explain that to another person. And I'm sure that there are other cover designers out there who could say, oh yeah, sometimes I forget that I need to tell my client that they need to be specific about what kind of cover they want. So the way that this came up was that I did a presentation for the Fictionary company on book cover design. We actually ended up missing in that recording, and I'm going to link to it as soon as it goes up on YouTube, on their YouTube channel. I'm going to throw it into this playlist. But we ended up missing the first 7 slides. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run really quick through those 7 slides so that way when you jump over to their video, which I will link as soon as they have it up on their YouTube channel, you'll be able to pick up right where my presentation picks up and watch through the whole thing. So let's do that really quick. And then after that, I'm going to jump to the slide that talks about what kind of book covers there are, and just really quickly explain what the differences are and how you can go a little bit more in depth with that and how that's going to make a huge difference when you're doing your market research. Okay, so this was the opening slide. And then I went through and I talked about myself, because that's what you're supposed to do in these presentations. And then what the whole video covers is I talk about what your cover is and what it isn't. A lot of authors don't like this answer. How to stand out and how to stand in. Most authors get mad here. The basic design elements that you need to know when you are trying to design your own cover or when you are working with a cover designer. Don't sleep through that part when you get to the video. And then where to get your book cover. So I talked about what a book cover is and what it isn't. A book cover is a marketing tool. It's a communicator, and a book cover is appealing. So we don't want our book cover to ever be ugly, but we do want our book cover to be a sharp tool and an effective communicator. If it's not a sharp tool and it's not an effective communicator, it's broken. Your book cover is usually not a scene out of your book. There are very few exceptions to this. And a book cover is not a pretty picture with your title on it. This is where most people who are trying to design their own covers go wrong. This is where the presentation picks back up. And where the recording started. So a book cover is a marketing tool. It's where your book cover, or where your book ends and the marketing begins. It utilizes marketing psychology. That's why it's not a scene from your book. And your book, as it communicates with your readers, it needs to tell them what the niche genre is. It needs to tell them what experience they're going to have. And then it needs to follow design principles. Okay, so that was where it got to, or where the recording picks back up in the Fictionary video. So I will leave it there and I will link so that you can go back and you can watch all of the rest of the presentation. But I'm going to jump over to this one slide and we're going to talk a little bit about what type of cover you're designing. And I want to talk about this a little bit more. So there's 4 different types of covers. And so you've got a text cover, an object cover, a photo manipulated cover, and an illustrated cover. You could also say that putting people on a cover could be an object cover, or it could be its own category. Depending on who you talk to, that will change how they look at it. I tend to think that if you put people on a cover, that is the object on your cover, is that you have a picture of people. But knowing these terms is super important, because a text or an object cover will cover what is going on the book cover, and that helps your designer know what to expect that you want to have. But then photo manipulated and illustrated tells them the medium that you're working in. So text or object tells them what you want to be on the cover, and then photo manipulated and illustrated tell them what kind of cover you want as far as how you want it to look. Do you want it to be pictures that are layered together and adjusted so that they look cohesive and they look like they all belong together? Or do you want the graphic designer to draw and illustrate your cover and put that together? And so that makes a difference when you're choosing your designer, because not all designers photo manipulate well and not all designers illustrate well. I don't photo manipulate well, mostly because I really dislike the process. I really did not like it in school. I don't like it now. I am capable of photo manipulation. I avoid it because I don't enjoy it. It's not something I like doing, and I'm not great at it because of that. And then illustrated covers are a completely different thing. I enjoy drawing. I enjoy creating things myself. And so by doing that, I'm much better at that. But an artist who hasn't spent a lot of time, a graphic designer who hasn't spent a lot of time in illustration and in creating and drawing this way, is not going to be a great person for you to go to do an illustrated cover. So just keeping in mind when you're doing your market research and picking these designers to do your covers, what kind of cover do you actually need to make sure that your book is an effective communicator and a sharp marketing tool? Do the books in your genre lead towards covers that have people on them? Or do they lean towards covers that have objects on them? Or do they lean towards covers that are illustrated? Or do they lean towards covers that are photo manipulated? Or are they like a text cover where more often than not, the cover is literally just the text and maybe a little bit of a pattern behind it, but usually just color? So keeping that in mind as you're doing your market research will really help you to be able to communicate better with your graphic designer. If you're hiring someone, it will make sure that if you're picking a pre-made cover, you're picking something that's going to work well for the genre that you're trying to communicate, the genre you've written in, and communicating an effective experience to your reader. And then if you're designing your own cover, it tells you what you need to start learning how to do. So if all of the colors in your genre are photo manipulated, then you're going to want to start learning how to photo manipulate and practicing that skill and learning how to take stock images and mesh them into a cohesive cover that makes sense and effectively communicates the experience your book's going to get. So I hope that was helpful. I hope it made sense. I would love to know down below in the comments what kind of cover you have. And if you don't have a book cover yet, what kind of cover based off of your market research do you need to have in order to make sure that your book stands in your genre while also standing out? If you like this video, I hope you give it a thumbs up. It helps other authors find it. And if you don't want to miss out on more cover design videos, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I post videos on Wednesdays, usually about once a month now, about cover design, discovery writing, and self-publishing on a shoestring budget. I hope to see you again soon.